Sony's crossplay.
Let's talk about that.
Hello and welcome to episode 26 of Triangle Squared. I'm your host, Brett Beck, and alongside me, your other host, Mr.
Saul Bridges.
Yeah. That was nice, Saul.
Lucky number 26. I didn't forget.
You didn't forget. You'll never forget.
I never tried to.
I'll never forgive you.
You or nobody else should.
Yeah. I'll make sure that Annie punishes you when we're done here. Okay, if this is your first time joining us, we are Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast. We post on YouTube and SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, all those great places and podcast services.
Be sure to follow us on those services if you are listening too.
Some of them, they're subscribing, all that mess. But you know what you can do on yours. If you listen to us in podcast format on audio only, please give us a rating and kind of give us an idea of how we're doing. It helps get our numbers up there so more people can find the show and we can grow our community a little bit. But
just a couple sentences of criticism goes a long, long way.
It does. But also, we do the show the way we want to do it in the long run. So that's
true. But we still like hearing from you.
Yeah. But Saul, what have you been playing this week?
Destiny 2.
Okay.
Me.
Okay.
You, Joe, just putting in hours, hitting that platinum or trying to. 2 trophies down. Maybe by the end of this weekend I'll have it if we can finally do the raid. And
we'll see about that.
Yeah. But other than that, and speaking of which, we have it on our Twitter, but if you don't follow our Twitter, if you want to add us on PlayStation to play some Destiny with us, join our clan.
Or any
look
of
in
those
that
things.
description. Yeah, look in the description.
We always have our PSN IDs in the description, but
I also downloaded Final Fantasy 9.
That's what I'm about to ask. Did you actually start it or not?
Yeah, I got about an hour in.
Okay, so you got through the part
rhythm
I was telling you about?
battle. Yeah. It was pretty interesting. Actually,
it's weird not weird. It's cool, but I mean, back then, it was different when I played it on PS1.
I felt like I've either seen a review or seen somebody play that part because that part felt way too familiar than it should.
Maybe you did. I don't know.
But I'm enjoying it so far. The card game system is really interesting.
Yeah.
But of course, with Destiny 2 being a thing, that kind
so where are you at right now? In the forest?
No.
You past that?
Let's see. The forest. I haven't gotten to the forest yet.
You haven't gotten in the airship?
No. Just because I'm an hour in doesn't mean I'm an hour in progress.
Okay. All right.
So I did the whole beginning part with Vivi and then the play.
Yes.
And then now I'm in the castle.
Okay, I got you.
I'm right at the castle. Once there was a new player or a new character that became unlocked, that's who I'm playing as.
Okay, I got you.
But
I understand.
I downloaded Fortnite as of today. I did the $40 standard edition just to try out the Battle Royale mode a week early because it is launching next Friday.
So did you actually play it yet, or is that what you're aiming to do?
Oh, no, I played like 4 rounds of it before I came over here.
Cool.
And it's fun. Me and Annie are going to go home and take turns to play some of that tonight. So yeah, don't, unless you really, really want to have something to do this weekend. Or actually, yeah, we're recording this before it's going to be free on this Friday. So just,
the 26th.
Unless you want to pay $40 to get it a couple days early, just wait. It's standalone almost. You don't have to even download the full game is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, it's a completely separate release.
Yeah, and it should because it actually works really well. It plays how you would want it to play compared to PUBG, and it works fun. It's real fun.
Okay.
So there's that. But what about you, sir? I know we have one game in common for sure.
Yeah, Destiny. But besides that, I've just pretty much been playing Knack. I finally turned on my Vita for the first time in a good while, trying to figure out what I wanted to play there, and I just don't know. I mean, I didn't finish this Gaia 3 or anything. Hopping back into that just seems, I don't know. I have too much on my plate right now where it just seems like going into that's too much of an undertaking to pick back up into that. And
does Gaia?
Yeah, only because I'm playing
50 hours in one of those games, easy.
Well, yeah, it's just also because when you're playing Destiny, it's like I pretty much, because of how we end up doing the stuff, I end up playing until the brink of when I really need to go to bed. So instead of doing my normal hour of watching TV and playing something on Vita, that hasn't happened in a while now.
Yeah, I typically go to bed around midnight. I've been stayed up till 1:30.
I got you. Well, I'm pretty far in Knack 2. I was kind of chipping away at it small because of the Destiny and stuff trying to come up for us to do raids and nightfalls and stuff.
Right.
But the other night didn't have much going on, so I spent like 3 hours on Knack 2, and I got from chapter 8 to chapter 11.
How many chapters is there? Do you know?
No clue.
Okay.
But I feel like I'm getting close to the end. So there's that. So happy for that. And it's weird, I was having a lot of problems early on, but the way that the game's skill tree breaks down makes that game not necessarily easier, but the game constantly gives you more and more stuff as you continue to play, and it changes stuff around to where I've kind of figured out the way to. It's like when you play Dark Souls just enough to kind of learn exactly what you need to do to not really die. Even if it's still hard, you know when to pull back. Yeah, exactly. So I haven't been dying much, and I flew pretty much from chapter 8 to chapter 11. I'm about halfway through without any issues. I died like maybe twice. It's pretty good.
So that's
I'm doing a lot better.
Sounds quickly and sounds like it was pretty easy. So
I still think that you need to pick it up at some point in time, or at least borrow my copy, because it's really good in an interesting way. And I think you would like playing on that difficulty.
Oh yeah,
because there's just something really interesting about it.
I probably wouldn't.
Definitely when your combo system gets a lot crazier. It's like when you have way more, because like now when I dodge, I can also add a spin kick at the end of my dodge, and like when I dodge, I'll ram people. Like that's something you can add in, so that when you're dodging is basically sidestepping, and basically like in Bloodborne, where you flick the analog stick and you kind of go one way.
That's kind of cool.
Anyway, and then I have some other stuff where like I can basically dodge through the enemy and get to the other side of him and turn around and attack him and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. But the game's really good. Besides that, I haven't been playing anything but Destiny. I just want to get that stupid raid done. Don't know if I can do it tonight unless it's really late tonight, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, Saul, do you want to move on and drop that drop?
Sure do.
Open up my my internet.
So as always, this is the release dates for this week. First up on the list, we have Blue Reflection for PS4, both digitally and retail. We have Danganronpa V3, Killing Harmony for PS4 and PS Vita, both physical and digital. We have DWVR for PlayStation VR, of course, and only for PlayStation VR. We have Eventide 2, The Sorcerer's Mirror for PS4. Fallout 4 Game of the Year Edition for both physical and digital.
Didn't that seem like it came really quickly? Like we talked about it and now it's here.
Yeah, I did not know this was coming out so soon.
I just don't know if the games I've been playing have been making time fly by a lot quicker than normal or
Dude, we're already through, Destiny came out the first this month. We're almost through it.
Yeah.
So,
that's
crazy.
True.
FIFA 18 for PS4, both digital and retail.
Whoop.
Firefighters Airport Fire Department for PS4 digital.
That looks like it's made by the people who made Farming Simulator. It's the same text.
Actually, yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
We have Fort Defense for PS4. Fragments of Him for PS4. Looks pretty cool. The Girl and the Robot Deluxe Edition for PS4. Retail only, so no digital there.
That's weird.
It is. Gundam Versus, a game I might very well pick up.
Yep, first one over here.
I always say that, but I don't have the time. We have it for digital and retail. We have Hob for PS4.
Which actually looks really cool.
Is this a platformer?
It's kind of interesting. If I were you, I'd check out the gameplay.
Yeah, and they made Torchlight 1 and 2, which is, of course, a Diablo clone.
Kind of, yeah.
Well, yeah, Diablo, inspired game. We have Koi for PS Vita. We have Light Tracer, yet another PSVR exclusive this week. Lightfield, a PS4 game. We have Mahjong World Contest for PS4 out.
Is it Mahjong?
Mahjong. It's a good question. I'm pretty sure it's Mahjong.
I'm pretty sure it's Mahjong, like the little game with the tiles. But keep going.
That might be very, very well what it is.
Mecho Tales.
Never heard of that game. Mecho Tales for PS4. Ninja Showdown for PS4. Outcast Second Contact for PS4.
Which looks weird. It's like a remake of a game, something like that, or a sequel to a really old game called Outcast, something like that.
That is interesting. I've never heard of it. Pharaonic Deluxe Edition for PS4. Pinball FX3 for PS4. Ruiner for PS4.
Which looks dope.
It does.
It looks so cool. The art style just really pulls you.
It really does. I actually, and this right here, I've seen people talk about this specific thing, looking like another character from a game, from Borderlands. Yeah, but it's not a copy. And that's what people were saying, that it's copying.
Yeah.
We have Senran Kagura, Peach Beach Splash for PS4 digital.
For those that want them
retail.
juicy Japanese gals.
Yeah, that's my favorite. We have Splasher for PS4. SteamWorld Dig 2 for PS4 and PS Vita cross-buy. And my computer just did that weird thing again where it almost crashed. Or maybe it did. I don't know. Like, if that may be the last game on the list this week, who knows? But yeah, you want to drop in real quick because...
Yeah, technical difficulties, Mr. Saul.
Oh, wait, there we go. Nope. It was up for a second, and then it went away. Do you see how it's doing that?
Double click the top of your thing. Top bar.
All right. I've never heard of that working. We have Summon Night 6 Lost Borders for PS4 and PS Vita. Sorry for that delay there, audio listeners. We have Voltron VR Chronicles for
Which
PS4
is interesting.
VR. We have Vrog. I'm gonna go with Vrog.
VR Frog.
Yeah, VR Frog, but it's not spelled that way. And that
Boy,
is
if
yet
that's-
another
if-
PSVR title.
I would kill for VR Classic Frogger from PS1. That game was so fun.
It was fun, but VR, like,
Yeah, just so I can look around the map. Just be like, oh, hey. That's
you
what I
mean
wanna
like
do.
a first person?
No. Third person. You still see Frogger, but you can there's a couple of third person games in VR where you can sit there and you can actually look around and find hidden spots and stuff by being able to move your head around the entire environment while the character doesn't necessarily have to move. So.
And that was it. That
cool.
was it.
Oh, good.
I apologize for my crappy laptop. Maybe one day when we do a Twitch stream, I'll break it on stream. And I'm not joking about that. I punched this laptop before because it doesn't work.
That's all right.
But I don't have anger.
Get you a nice new laptop like me, buddy. All right, let's see. So, first thing for news, this is pretty big news week, obviously partially because of TGS. So, while we're breaking down the TGS stuff that happened, we're going to do an overview, like a breakdown. We're also going to answer one of the reader mails.
Yeah, that would work.
Which was, who?
Shiriko from TGS.
Yeah.
What was the most hyped and what surprised you the most or best?
Yeah.
So
with that being said, first thing on the list is that Square Enix announced Left Alive, a new game taking place in the long-running Front Mission series. It's a third-person survival action shooter taking place in Russia in 2127. The project has Yoji Shinkawa of Metal Gear fame involved, as well as Shinji Hashimoto, Final Fantasy, and Kingdom Hearts. He's been involved in those games. And then a few other big names for mech games, like the Armored Core, one of the Armored Core people. So that's pretty interesting to see. Development's about 50% through with the game set to launch on PS4 and PC in 2018. So if I had to say anything, it's probably the biggest surprise because this goes to show that there's even more of Square just going, okay, we're just going to focus on PS4 and then PC just to give a little bit more of an audience.
Yeah, and that right there is the answer to that question for me about my biggest surprise, which is Left Alive.
Yeah, and I'm mostly kind of surprised that Shinji Hashimoto being in it is really cool because I really like...
And Yoji.
Yeah. But I'm trying to figure out how much of Yoji's art's going to be...
in the actual game?
Well, yeah, like, how do you see it? Because I think didn't he do character design in Metal Gear? I know he did the cover art.
Yeah, it's the cover art for sure, and then there's a couple cutscenes. Yeah, sorry, but computer being...
Anyway, so, yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the most interesting game, but again, I think I'm mostly surprised just because it's furthering Square Enix sticking with PS4 like they did with countless games now, Star Ocean, Nier Automata... I mean, they've just been doing it. Kingdom Hearts 2.8.
Yeah,
it just goes to show that that's what they're going after, and that's where the majority of their market's going to be. So I was having this conversation with someone the other day. Outside of the fact that they are huge releases that probably stand to at least gain a little bit, I do think the only reason we still see Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy releasing, or Final Fantasy 15 released on Xbox One, is that they kind of promised it from the get-go.
It was kind of...
They've seen enough to go that, okay, this isn't necessarily the platform we're going to get a lot of sales on, but, still interesting to see that they're going this route and that Square's not getting with Microsoft definitely after the whole Tomb Raider thing. Trying to find ways to partner with them and get them games that are exclusive completely because I don't think you're going to see Nier Automata come to Xbox One at all. So, interesting to see. Next thing on the list for what happened at TGS is Monster Hunter World releases globally on January 26th and has a special edition PS4 Pro that is sadly releasing exclusively in Japan.
That thing looks sick. I'm not a huge fan. I was telling Brett, I'm not a huge fan of red on my consoles. The red splashes in there, but it looks really dope. Yeah,
it looks really cool. Third thing, Shadow of the Colossus remake got a new trailer showcasing many of the Colossi in action in the new engine. So, Saul, you were
That's my other answer. That is what I'm most hyped about.
I'm a little surprised that we saw that much of the game without seeing a release date. No, I mean, it's not that I'm worried. I just thought it was weird.
I'm hoping if it's at I'm hoping it's at PSX.
I'm hoping it's at PSX just so I can play it.
That too.
All right, let's see. Next thing is Final Fantasy IX was announced and released for PS4 this week, as we talked about, and it includes trophy support as well as HD cutscenes, booster features, the ability to turn off random encounters, and a whole lot more. So it's more than just a straight copy and paste over the system. They added a lot of new features, which is cool. Fifth thing, let's see. Zone of the Enders Second Runner is being remastered for PS4 with 4K support and full VR support, so that's definitely interesting to see. And they had boosts set up for people to play it. So good to see. It looks like people's reactions are pretty good for it. Final Fantasy XV's Noctis will be joining the lineup of characters in Final Fantasy Dissidia NT, which is surprise. It comes out in like January, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, January, February, something like that.
Well, that's a big block at the first of the year.
Interesting to see that they finally added him. I thought it was weird that he wasn't in it from the get-go, but that game's been out as an arcade game for a few years now.
Yeah,
so.
3 years, I think.
Yeah, well, like 2 years, I'm pretty sure.
2 years.
But let's see. Next thing is beloved PS3 and Vita title, Dragon's Crown, is being remastered for PS4 with 4K support. And lastly, Sony announced 2 VR projects in the form of Japan Studio VR Music Festival and Nico Atsume Cat Collecting Sim. Very Japanese geared things, but it's cool to see Sony actually doing something first party for VR, as here recently it's been a lot of third party VR support.
Dude, Nico Atsume blew up here on the phones. That's a phone game.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and it's where you can
I know I've heard of that name before, but
it's like you had like this little space, and then you could decorate it and do stuff with cats, and then they'll attract more cats. You could build like little cat towers, and then every now and then there's a cat called Tubbs who will sneak in and eat all the cat food, so you got to replace the cat food. It's actually a really cute game. I played it for like a week. Annie, a lot longer.
That's not surprising at all.
Yeah.
All right, moving into the normal news. First thing on the list is something extremely surprising for me, or not as surprising, but it makes me happy. That's the best way to word it. So while Nier wasn't at TGS like I was hoping in some form or fashion, you should expect more from the series in the near future. Square Enix are seeking people to head up Nier-related products in scenario creation for side quest and NPC interactions. So that's good. And speaking of that, Square Enix also announced that the game has now sold over 2 million copies across digital and physical sales, performing well above initial expectations. Even when it hit 1 million, they were really surprised, and that was apparently over expectations.
So that should tell you Square to make a remaster.
Well, it just goes to, there's no surprise that Square are looking to explore that world further, and I hope that also means that maybe because of the tie-in with Nier and the fact that they can go, hey, here's Nier, which is part of the Drakengard world, here's new Drakengard. I would like to see that as well, but I'll take either.
I'd rather take Nier over Drakengard, just because if like I said, this is kind of a running trend. Just remastered it if I didn't get to play it last year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true, but you also, I mean, the upside of the Drakengard games is that they're all standalone in the grander scheme, but every game he makes is tied together somehow tied together in a world or universe standpoint. So you don't need to play the previous games.
Okay.
But it adds even more to the experience is all it is. So
okay.
I mean, if they made a Drakengard 4, I don't think you'd have any issues playing it. Just off of historically how his games are done.
Oh, okay.
Next
Makes
thing,
sense.
Insomniac Games underwent a rebranding last week. The studio's iconic moon logo is no more, instead adopting a new logo that uses 2 crescents facing each other, reminiscent of the moon, to create the O. This rebranding also went hand in hand with the opening of their new studio in Burbank, California. So congratulations to Insomniac. It's good to see them opening a new studio and kind of moving that around. And I'm a little disappointed because I actually really love their logo. And their new logo looks, I won't say that it looks more professional, even though in a way it does, but it looks more typical slightly. Like, it's still cool, but I feel like their other one had a little more charisma and heart to it, like charm.
A little bit of originality in there.
Yeah, and they've had it for so long. I think it's just, maybe it's just the shell shock of
just a different,
finally
something
changing
different.
something. Because their logo's been pretty much the same. Even before it was colored in and had the moon, it was like red outline Insomniac with the O really big.
Oh, yeah.
So it's interesting to see that they've done it this way, but I'm still happy for them, and it doesn't. I mean, regardless of how people feel about it, it's not going to change that Spider-Man's going to be a great game and that they are great developers. I mean, they are good developers. So good for them. Happy for them. Next up, South Park Fractured But Whole will finally be releasing after multiple delays. The game has gone gold in preparation for its release on October 17th. This news was announced alongside a ridiculous new trailer for the game, with the gay fish joke returning in full force. So good to see. PlayStation have finally released an update for the 5.0 beta. Thank Jesus. Some users had to downgrade to update 4.74 forcibly, notably me, to play games online, notably Destiny 2, which made me really mad. How are you going to do that right around the release of a game like that?
20 minutes till you get back online.
So anyway, and to do that, I ended up having to leave the beta firmware behind. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to play online. So those users can now download 5.0 Beta 6 to continue using the new firmware before it's likely released in the coming weeks. So I'm definitely going to get that done because I definitely liked a lot of the stuff that 5.0 was doing.
True.
So Tekken 7 is the next thing up, and it's received an update, bringing with it tweaks and balances to some of the game's characters, proving to be an important update for the online component specifically. Next up, more info on Red Dead Redemption 2 is fast approaching. Rockstar announced via Twitter that more of the game will be shown on Thursday, September 28th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So I don't care much about Red Dead. We've had that conversation. I think it's a fine game, and I know people are excited for it. So that'll be a very big day for a lot lot of people.
Yeah, because ET is what?
Tune in September 28th. Huh?
ET is what, an hour?
Eastern Time is an hour.
So it'd be noon here.
An hour ahead of us.
Oh, so it'd be 10 a.m. here.
Yeah, I'm pretty
cool.
sure.
I won't be at work.
Yeah, so next thing up, Overwatch developers have announced that the game will begin permanent banning for competitive bans for any users that earn 3 seasonal bans at any time. And that wording is very specific because it does not matter if you get 3 bans in one season or
right.
3 bans across 3 different seasons. You will get permabanned and it never comes off.
Dude, when I was a hardcore playing Overwatch, one of my favorite things to do was to go to the Blizzard forums or even just look up video compilations of people justifying why they got banned and why they shouldn't be banned. And it's so interesting. If you do something to exploit a game that's online, you should be banned, which is going to incorporate something in this main topic.
Okay. Well, next thing up, Remember Me and Life is Strange developer Don't Nod have announced that their RPG Vampire, which was set to release this fall, is being delayed to spring of 2018 to give the team more time for polishing and balancing. They issued a statement apologizing for the delay, but they thanked us for their patience and thanked Focus Home Interactive, the publisher, for giving them the time that they needed to make sure the game was the best it can be. Next thing on the list is the Planet of the Apes game, Lost Frontier. The developers say that the game is heavily inspired by Heavy Rain and will feature similar interactive adventure elements. The game is set to release later this year at this moment, so interesting to see because there's never really been a Planet of the Apes game, and this looks like it's going full force in a really strong way.
Yeah, which is super interesting.
I've been super interested in the movies, and now I need to watch them.
Have you watched them?
I want to play this game. No.
Oh, they're actually really
I know.
Good.
I've heard they're really good. That's why I want to watch them.
It surprised us when we rented one on YouTube like a month ago. And we immediately rented the second one. It was just like, this is a really good movie
It looks really
series.
good, and the new one looked good, too. Just I didn't want to watch the new one without previous, so.
Do me a favor, that bottom one thing, read that one first.
Okay.
I'm going to throw you
I see
off.
what you're doing. You segue in.
I'm segueing.
Okay, so Final Fantasy 15's multiplayer expansion, Comrades, finally has a release date of October 31st. And the very last thing, I'll let Saul take away.
Sure. So Fortnite's Battle Royale mode has been announced to be releasing separate from the base game and will be completely free to play starting September 26th. Yep. Players who bought Fortnite for the Battle Royale mode can contact the developers for a refund if wanted. We don't know if that is true on PlayStation.
Oh, on PlayStation, maybe not. But they've been pretty cool about everything so far. I guess PlayStation, that's technically up in the air.
Yeah. So
that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
So the big thing.
Good sir.
Do what?
The salient point, good sir.
Say what?
Nothing.
So we do have something else to add to this is that during this week, for a brief, short time, that game was crossplay.
Yeah.
People were on Xbox, PS4, and PC all playing together. People found this out because they were getting killed by people with spaces in their name. And that's not something you could do on PlayStation.
Yep.
So what they would do is they would look on their PlayStation friends or search them on the PlayStation friends list service, couldn't find them. Then they'd search them on Xbox, they'd find them, or PC, they'd find them. So that sparked up a whole new debate about
how easy crossplay is,
which is our main topic, of course. But right before we get in there, we have one more piece of reader mail, and not only did that happen with Fortnite this week with the whole crossplay thing. Another thing happened more recently, and that was that PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds has said that they are thinking about seeking further action against Fortnite. And we talked about this last night.
Yep.
And Nate Lloyd here on Twitter, remember, every week, if you follow us on Twitter, which is Triangle SQRD, you can participate and ask us anything, comment chain, and we will get to yours on air. We're going to start doing them kind of maybe pick and choose or
the questions that jump out the most.
Yeah, because it seemed to have gotten to kind of interrupt our flow a little bit, which is what I'm doing right now. But he said, care to weigh in on the PUBG and Fortnite spat? Not exactly PlayStation specific, but interesting nonetheless. So I think that the way they advertised the games was wrong. I think obviously the similarities thing, they have nothing for them.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of games use similarities, and I definitely agree. I think that, like we talked about yesterday, I see both sides of the argument. I think that the biggest argument on in terms of Fortnite's developer side, they talked about the similarities and that it's pulling away from some of what made PUBG special right now specifically, but the PUBG idea is not completely original.
DayZ did it on PC.
I mean, games have been doing it for a while,
right?
So that's
which is all a concept from a movie.
Yeah, it just comes down to
Battle Royale.
Yeah, the idea of that's been going around for a long time. So even though they're the biggest one right now, very specifically, doesn't change the fact that the idea is not just the most original thing in the world.
Right.
Even if they were the first to kind of do it in this grand of a scheme and get this big.
Yeah.
But what it comes down to is I do think it's a little fishy that PUBG uses Unreal and that Epic never even bothered to just mention it to them, knowing that they're working alongside the developer of the game. I'm not saying that they're in the wrong for doing it. I just why be that fishy when you know you have a relationship with the developer of the game that you're aping? Yeah, it's cool that they're aping because a lot of games do it. It's just
right.
If you can take an idea and infuse it with something even cooler. I mean, think about it. Terraria has building elements that some people could say they're aping from Minecraft. Okay, well they took that idea, they flattened it, and then they said, "What if we make it even more intense and we can add walls and these weird things?"
Yeah,
and then
correct.
So they just took an idea and expanded on it their way. And the similar thing is what you're seeing here. You're seeing Fortnite go, "Hey, you know what? What if we made this same gameplay style, refined it in a way that we think works a little bit better, and then added some of the Fortnite elements that people like into it, and make our own take on the game?"
Something cool in Fortnite is that there are these chests that are hidden around, and typically they're obviously hard for some of them to see. Sometimes, and they have a noise.
Yeah.
And so you get into a house and you hear this whooshing sound, and then the closer you get, you realize it's in a garage up on this little like roof area that you can't get up to.
You have to build.
You have to build to get up there. Yeah. You have to build some stairs. PUBG doesn't have stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think is interesting. And
H1Z1 did it before PUBG did, so they don't have the right to call somebody out for that. Now with Fortnite advertising it to play like PUBG, specifically saying PUBG, that's where
not telling the developer why. When you have a relationship like, "Hey guys, this is what game we're making. We think it's cool. We loved y'all's game and we like the idea, so we're gonna put it in our game. Do we mind if we use your game as a comparison,
as a reference
point when we do our advertising?"
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I think there's shadiness on both sides.
There is,
but I will side with Fortnite in this one just because I can't side with PUBG for calling them out in the fashion they did.
I just kind of stand in the middle and wait to see what actually happens because I think that both people have at least some ground to stand on.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah, I'm just in particular the way they went about calling them out, saying we may seek legal action. It's like why did you do this publicly? You could have done this. Like they're only doing this because now players are playing Fortnite. And they're the first Battle Royale game on consoles. And so now that when PUBG comes out on consoles...
it'll be... I mean, I get where you're going with it, trust me.
Shady businesses all around this world.
Yeah, but going back into crossplay, as that's the meat of this episode, the topic kind of comes courtesy from Mr. Ryan Turismo Sport and a couple other people. I mean, obviously it's been around, and what's funny is we almost did a topic on this a while back, but I kind of decided to pull away from it for the time being. But
and now the
biggest problem with this is that this is the biggest... It really sucks for Sony because this is specifically the biggest example of how easy crossplay really is. All Sony has to really do is just say yes.
Flip of a switch. Absolutely crazy. It was fixed within an hour of people finding out about it. So it literally takes an hour, maybe generous. It maybe take half a day to get this stuff up and running. And now that people see that it's literally a flip of a switch or it's literally an afternoon of work time to get this to be fixed or to be available.
And what's wild is Sony's not come out with any form of real damage control of saying...
Right, yeah, and...
Which, don't get me wrong, they can't to an extent, but they could at least say something. And
I think that people are just going to reference back to what Jim Ryan was saying. Now, and me and you were talking about this, is that as a consumer and a gamer, I don't agree with what they're doing. I think that they should open it up. It will allow games to basically have triple the size of players. And obviously, it wouldn't be for all games. It could be like those games like Rocket League and Minecraft, and maybe here and there AAA titles like Call of Duty. I could understand why.
It gets to be weird, but the thing is that people want crossplay. Crossplay has always been a dream, right? But for the longest time, it was really elusive. It just wasn't going to happen because online play was too in its infancy.
In last gen, Xbox did not want it because they're top dog.
Yeah, but
and Sony did. And now
at one point,
and now it
keeps
role
moving
reversal
around
because Sony is top dog. And from a business side, I understand. I just think that a lot of people who, if I have Destiny on Xbox and you have it on PS4, you really have to love Destiny to spend $400 to play with somebody else, or $300 to play with somebody else.
Yeah, but it's funny that you're going to Destiny because I want to go into one of my first problems with going and opening crossplay completely. And one of those problems is that at that point, these weird console exclusive things in games like Destiny start to become a problem, because let's say that you open up crossplay completely within Destiny 2 and somehow they either find a way for players to just use a third party thing like Skype to voice chat, or if they find a way to integrate voice chat as well. Everybody's in, they're playing, all right. And really the bigger point is going to be, it's really the Borealis. Okay, so when you come down to it, it's like that could be useful in Crucible, they could be useful in raids, and what it does is that now, because the Borealis, which is one of the best sniper rifles in the game,
arguably
is
so,
exclusive to PlayStation. If that Xbox community can now come in and play, how does that work? Because now they don't have something that they do not have a comparable item. And then going even further into more of a problem, what happens when you jump on crossplay and you go to do a strike playlist and it tries to load into it? Why does the strike for PlayStation even exist at that point?
See, I think, I guess you're right specifically for that strike, because
you wouldn't be able to play it.
If it's open, then there would be no content exclusives. Which I will say though,
I mean,
if you are on the Xbox side of things right now, that's even bigger of like a hit in the face, because at that point in time, you're basically rooting for console exclusives, which is kind of a shady thing, or not necessarily shady, but it's definitely a 50-50 split, because if you have them, they're good, but if you don't have them, that's when you're annoyed with them. Because people in Destiny 1 finally got the things that they wanted. I don't know if
delayed.
They have.
Yeah, very delayed. They got it way later. So PlayStation exclusives, if I'm not mistaken, with Destiny 1, pretty much all the PlayStation exclusives eventually came to Xbox, but much later.
They came either at the launch of Destiny 2 or they're coming in a month. I think it's October.
Well, some of them came a little bit later. Remember,
I don't think
some of
any
the
of them.
very first exclusives were available on Xbox like 2 years after launch.
Nope. Jade Rabbit's still not on Xbox One.
Well, so they pushed that back because they talked about that.
Yeah,
they talked about that at the beginning of last year.
People are still talking
the beginning of this year.
People are still talking about not to be able to use Jade Rabbit.
Well, but I think that there's certain
at least
items,
a week before.
Some of the maps and stuff and some of the strikes, I think, did make it to Xbox.
Now that I can't say too sure, but the weapons and stuff. But that is where it gets muddy waters. It's where it's like, is this really going to work? And I'll say right now that I am a huge fan for crossplay. I think that games that, like, let's say, and I already said Call of Duty probably won't be one, but like, let's say if Call of Duty comes out and next year the new one comes out and you don't like it, so then you go back to the old one. Well, it's kind of dead.
But now you have twice as many
triple
players.
Player base, yeah. So because you have PC, Xbox, and PS4 all in one lobby.
Well, PC becomes a bigger thing because that's another question that lines up into something I said on Twitter when we loosely talked about this last night with a couple of users. Is that the problem with going complete crossplay between consoles is an easier milestone to hit than crossplay between all three, because when you start to do something like Call of Duty, how do you account for the people who say that mouse and keyboard give you a leg up playing against people who are on controllers?
Well, to be fair, you can use mouse and keyboard on PS4.
You can't use mouse and keyboard on Call of Duty, I'm fairly positive.
No, you can. There's literally a thing you could buy that you plug in your USB, and it treats it like a controller.
Well, okay, but we're talking native support.
I mean, but the thing is, though, is that...
Well, but it doesn't matter, because not everybody's going to want to do that. Because a console is bought and meant to be played with what comes with the console, so you're gonna most people
are
are
saying
gonna,
people who want to use mouse, or you're saying people. I thought you were saying people want to use mouse and keyboard.
No, I'm saying what are you going to do for the console people who are most of the time going to be using a controller? That's just the nature of a console, right? When you open up PC people in this avenue, most PC people who play on FPSs play with mouse and keyboard.
Of course, yeah.
So, and there are people on the PC side, definitely, and even some people on the console side that say that yes, there is a benefit to using mouse and keyboard.
Oh, yeah, there certainly is.
I mean,
once you get
I hate mouse and keyboard.
But once you get good with them. The precision
regardless,
is there.
it doesn't matter what I say. It's about what people say, and that's obviously something that people feel. And then what happens when the PC version has 60 frames per second and the console versions have 30 frames per second?
So here, I guess
are games like that. So what happens in those moments?
Yeah, and that's probably something that won't happen with all those given variables. And you can turn the graphics down on PC. The thing that people say makes Fortnite's Battle Royale so much funner.
More
fun. Yeah, that's not a word. Is that in PUBG you can turn your graphics down to nothing and you can see people laying on the ground, in which their game they're hiding in grass because they have their graphics on medium high. But if they're on low, the grass isn't there. It's not as thick, so you can see people. So you can literally cheat that way. Or not cheat, but you can literally
I get what you're
around.
saying, but in general, performance does be an issue. And then what happens when a game performs better on Xbox, or performs better on a PS4 than Xbox, or once Xbox One X is out, performs better on Xbox and PS4? Like, for some reason, the Xbox One X version is 60 frames per second, the PS4 version
it gets real muddy.
30 frames per second. Now it starts to be like, how are you going to do that? Are you going to make it to where crossplay is able to be turned off, but able to be turned on? And then if it's turned on, the game has to scale itself to match everything. That's going to be even more of a pain in the ass on PC when you have way more variables than consoles.
I was going to say, Rocket League does have a feature in that game where you can turn off PC play. On PS4. So,
I know, but I'm saying, are they going to do that?
That's curious.
If they open up the whole thing,
I
are they
would
going to
think
do
so,
that?
just because I know people. They go ahead and read one of our subscriber comments on the question. I closed off my laptop, but he was saying that he does not like the community of Xbox at all, and that becomes a thing of like where sometimes, maybe him included, he would just turn it off entirely.
Okay, you're talking about Turnip Lord. Yeah, I remember saying that. So, Turnip Lord says, no, they don't need to. And this was a response to our thing about should Sony give in and do it. So he says, no, they don't need to. The Xbox community is toxic. And that's, to be fair, that's entirely subjective.
Right.
But I'm assuming he's had a bad experience on Xbox.
I'm not going to agree with him.
So,
but
this is what he said. So, no, they don't need to. The Xbox community is toxic. Just look at the obsessive fanboys. I can't stand them. They act about 10 years old and cry when they don't get their own way. I don't want these people in my games. Also, if you open the platform, then you open up to cheaters and people with clear advantages like different controllers or hack devices. Xbox has a lot of USB device hacks for first-person shooters, for example.
Going back to the competitive Overwatch thing we were talking about, there is USB hacks on Xbox One. There's not a lot of them, and I think they only work for one game, which is Modern Warfare Remastered. But the fact is that game's so new, and they got a hack to work in multiplayer online for that game. Yeah.
Well, I want to say a couple things about specifically what he said. Every community can be toxic.
Of course.
I've had a lot of actual bad run-ins. I don't normally chat on video games, so it doesn't really matter. But when you're playing Call of Duty or any kind of online game, I normally don't use a headset. And if the game doesn't make it easy for you to mute all players, I just don't fucking worry about it. And sometimes that ends up being a thing to where I hear people just saying the most ridiculous stuff in the world, and it's just, it doesn't, any community can be toxic. It's just the way that the world goes. And the more closed off you make your own community, the easier you have a controller. So if all your friends are on PlayStation anyway, and you can control what community you're normally part of, it's going to be you and your friends. That's not going to be considered toxic to you the majority of the time. But it obviously, I've had a bad experience on Xbox as well, so I understand where you're coming from. It's just that every community can be toxic. The other thing is that fanboys are literally on both sides.
Well, we have a PlayStation podcast.
Well, yeah, but that's not because of fanboyism. Well, yeah. I'm a fanboy by the general sense of the two. Yes, I very much prefer and am not shy about my preference.
There are the blind fanboys this is better. This that has better games.
They're the fanboys that throw all logic and stats and numbers to the wind and just go, here's why this is better, and I can't be wrong.
100% brand loyalty.
Sucks.
Yeah,
that's the way it is. But sometimes you see that.
Going back to the toxic though, I will say that I had to turn off messages from people that weren't friends because of Overwatch and Destiny. I got called a faggot in Destiny for literally not reviving somebody.
Yeah, I know.
In a strike, in a player versus event game, me and another friend were playing. He died, and we could not get to him because we would have died too and reset it. And then he messaged me and my friend calling us that. And it's like, really? we're playing with each other, not against each other.
Yeah, and that's
then
what
Overwatch
I'm saying.
is terrible.
I think a lot of and sometimes it's more the community based around the game, and the bigger a game gets, the bigger that community has issues with. But going back to specifically crossplay, it's funny that he mentions that. So when we're talking about Xbox community specifically, and whether or not you'd actually be able to have them, again, voice chat, does voice chat happen? Because in Rocket League, there's no voice chat between PS4 and PC when you're playing together. I don't think that that's true of. I don't think there's any kind of voice chat naturally that works between all three of them when you do Rocket League on Xbox, PC, and Switch. With all that happening, it's something that you really don't have to worry about. It's just players. Now, they can do things to annoy you, I guess, like doing the ridiculous teabag thing, but that's just a first-person shooter thing. People like to do that. There's just people that do that. I mean,
they
whatever.
get real salty and take it out on you.
With that being said, the Xbox specific part of it, somebody uses the community. The funny thing about the way that this goes into something that someone else mentioned, and that is actually, let me go back to that. I'm going to go through what a couple of people said. So, No Fate says that Sony's currently on top of PS4, so why risk everything by rushing it in when they can reevaluate later down the line with less risk? So, in terms of what he's saying, I agree. The obvious reason that Sony's not done it is because they don't need to do it.
Well, see, I disagree. Because
when I say need, they are not hurting for player counts.
Well, see, my whole thing is, though, is that they're doing it because they're worried about people buying PlayStations. At this point, if you have friends playing a game and you have an Xbox, you're more than likely not going to buy a PlayStation this late into the cycle, unless you just get a really big sale.
That one exclusive could pull you, and then the other ones that kind of loosely interested you but weren't like a for sure system seller, you also get, like, there's the one that you're like, oh, that's system seller. Now I also get to experience the rest of these. The sale thing is not a big deal. It's just, I think that Sony is using this as what I keep saying is not necessarily a trump card, because obviously right now they look like they're on the bad side of it, but they can use this as a PR card. When anytime that something goes a little bit against what they wanted, they can pull this out and go, hey, you know what? As of today, we're doing cross-play. We've talked with everybody. It's going to be fully integrated. And it can turn the tide on weird things for them. I think they're saving it.
Which is ridiculous, because just the whole thing of like...
Well, they're saving it because they can. They can afford to, because they're not hurting for player counts. Xbox is obviously more gung-ho because they're in the bottom this gen. They see it as, hey, we're going to look good PR-wise to the people who wanted this to happen. It gives us more players so that when people are online, our games don't look as dead. There's a million reasons as to why it's beneficial to Xbox, while it wouldn't be quite as beneficial to Sony.
Yeah, because they're making Sony look real bad.
So, I mean, yeah, they
Even
are.
Phil Spencer said, I wish they left it on when they said they fixed Fortnite.
I know, I saw. But a couple more of the things. Let's see. Shiriko says, as long as both systems can work together, I don't see a big issue. I'm not fussed if they do or don't, but we would get more players out of it.
See, that's kind of how I feel, to be fair.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I don't really care either way.
I think I have.
I don't care until it gets into the bit of all these console exclusives. What happens in Call of Duty when PlayStation has the month early access to these map packs, and you're playing with people who are...
And that may be PlayStation-only lobbies that they could potentially do, which would be more work on the developer. Who knows? But see, my just general outlook is that it's very anti-consumer to be against something like this late into the cycle, because I think that everybody knows that with the last 2 years of the cycle we have left.
I guess where I stand a little bit better, I feel like Sony would look better if they'd come out and go, hey, look, we get that it's something that people want, and we get that it's easy to do, but there's a lot of reasons as of right now that this would not be as cut and dry as you think. Yes, we could turn it on, but that doesn't mean it's going to work perfectly. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be issues and barriers that we have to try and overcome on both sides. Sony's getting the exclusives right now. Sony would be the one at that point losing something if they did this, because the most fair thing to do if they open these communities to each other is to give the Xbox people all the Sony exclusives, because that now levels that playing field. Well, then that hurts Sony. Do you see where I'm going?
I don't think that all these exclusives sell the games that they do.
Well, when we're talking about fanboys, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, but it'd have to be a fanboy of a certain game, and then they may not, because if you're a fanboy of Destiny, there are people who are fanboys of Destiny but still have it on Xbox because they could care less about the things. Or there are still people on Xbox that are complaining about the things not coming to them because they still have it on Xbox because it didn't force them to buy a PlayStation.
Yeah, I get where you. But all it's saying is that when you have the two of them together, that it's no longer about, oh, because I just didn't want to buy a system. Now it's like there's no reason that they shouldn't be available.
Well, and I think it also
for leveling playing field. But if you're not going to level the playing field, then why do you even have the games play together?
Well, I think it affects the person who's standing at GameStop looking at the wall and saying, okay, this has this and this has this.
Who doesn't have either?
Well,
they go, hey, if I get a PS4 and I get Destiny on PS4, bam.
That's where that really shines. But I've always been pretty much against content exclusivity, even though I will say that it's when it first came out, I was like, now Xbox has nothing to worry about, or Xbox has everything to worry about because they lost Call of Duty, they lost Destiny, all they have left is Halo, Forza, and whatever.
Yeah.
But the more and more that it's happening on this, it seems like it's just hurting the fan bases of those games more than anything.
In ways, but the last thing I do want to talk about, and this is another hurdle that I think has to be gotten over before anything happens. So. No Fate's final thing, and definitely in response to Shuriko's thing about if it works on systems and it doesn't matter, he's for it. If it happens, he doesn't really care if it doesn't. No Fate says some games would require you to log into a live account, and no one can blame Sony for not wanting this on their platform. That is a huge deal because when we're talking about Minecraft in specific, when you do Minecraft on Switch and you play the Switch one alongside the Xbox one, you have to log into an Xbox Live account.
Yeah, and see that's when I would say that if you're going to do crossplay, exclude that feature or have a set amount of games that you exclude that from.
I just think that needs to be completely gone. There's already games. It's funny that ends up going down. So, you can download a game on Steam, right? Then you got to go through Steam. You got to log into Steam. You got to get into Steam to start the game. Then you start the game. Well, certain games like Ubisoft make you go through another damn thing that opens up.
Right, and that's
it's like,
consoles too.
Why am I logging into Uplay?
Yeah.
It's like, cut down on the amount of crap I got to log into. I should not have to, because basically what it means is that you're forced to make a live account. If you've never owned an Xbox and you don't have a live account, just because you want to crossplay, you're now forced to make a live account.
Actually, I don't think live accounts are a thing anymore. I think it's all window accounts. Like as long as you have Windows account. Like so, if you have a Windows email,
I don't have a Windows email.
Well, yeah, but that's an email account you'd make instead of a Xbox account.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, if you
I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that.
If you've never needed it until that moment, why are they forcing you to do something that you don't really need outside of this feature?
I guess that's how old people feel when they like go sign up for something. They're
like I don't need email.
It's like I don't have an email.
I don't need an email.
Email's the devil.
I'm just saying that when you start to force people into doing things that they don't even need or want, then you're suddenly making this feature that you think sounds great on paper not look as great as it could.
I will say though that if you are super excited about being able to do this, I don't think an email sign up or an Xbox Live sign up was really going to hinder you or stand in your way.
It's just one more barrier. Because now, and then what happens? If you have to sign into live on everything, what if you want to go play the games, but they're automatically open, right? They're automatically cross-platform, and they go, hey, for you to even play this game online, you're going to have to make a live account so that other people can join in on you. It's like, well, I don't care. I don't care to play with the Xbox people. What if you don't want the feature? Now it hinders the people that don't want the feature.
Correct. Yeah, I just think that's a really small thing, though.
I mean, it just depends.
It's very nitpicky.
I don't think it's nitpicky because I think that you'd be surprised.
If it's an email address, if it is an Xbox Live thing, because see, when you say Xbox Live thing, that makes it sound like you have to have gold.
No, you wouldn't have to have gold, and that's not the way. That's not the way it works on Nintendo. You have to just have a live account.
But see, is it a live account? I got to do some Googling real quick because I didn't think to through this. But it seems like is it a live account or a Windows account?
I mean, it doesn't matter. I think that Live and Windows are connected now. But
so that's just an email.
But they're just
free.
A new email. They're the free version. Even if it was a live account, you can do it through Silver. It's just so they can keep tabs with who's on their thing. That's the way the Minecraft thing.
Which is weird. It's shady.
I think so too. And that's part of why, Sony said the dumb thing about Minecraft and how because when people are playing on their service, they owe the responsibility to them to make sure that they know who's on there, and that if they let people from Xbox on, they can't see or control what those people are doing. And I mean, while I think there's a little bit of a point there, because what is Sony supposed to do? They can't ban this person for doing something bad against this kid. Microsoft would have to do that. But can Microsoft still see it when they're together?
That may be the purpose of that.
I don't know. That's and maybe that is the purpose. I don't really understand, but
it would give them the game data and anything. So if any complaints are issued, then they could go back.
But if they find a way for it to just be seamless and they can see that something's going wrong, then even then, if Sony can see it on their side and they can go, I guess it creates weird communication that becomes necessary at that point. Because if it's completely open and they can all see each other, and PlayStation specifically is the one who ends up seeing something that's like, oh, this needs to be banned. Now they have to contact Microsoft in case Microsoft don't see it and be like, this player did this. This is the reason why they need to be banned. You need to ban them.
Well, and it depends,
I don't know.
Too.
Again, I don't know how true that is because of how weird this crossplay thing is when it comes into a permission one. Because obviously we know that a switch could just be flipped on accident and crossplay can work. But that doesn't mean that there's not some kind of legal or moral obligation on the company's side that they can't just do it without everybody being on board with here's what happens, because Sony's, I mean, it's like when cases say that online ratings can't, or online interactions can't be rated because they don't know what you're going to experience online.
Well, yeah, and that's a term and condition of the game you just
exactly
bought. So you can't, and people that and
then
really,
there's also a term and condition of the service you're signing in on. So if you're signing in on PSN, that's a terms and service of their thing,
right?
And then it's also a terms and service on Xboxes. But what happens when that Xbox player is in the PlayStation? Well, I'm not going to say in the PlayStation ecosystem, but when they're in the same ecosystem.
I think that it would be Xbox's responsibility. I've never heard of a company that would report unusual activities. I've always heard of players doing it, or unless it's an auto-detect software.
But even that's what I'm saying. So a player who's playing on PS3 sees the Xbox player doing some stuff, and then the Xbox player is giving them hell and basically just harassing them.
It would be an auto-detect across all systems, and then PlayStation would ban them. They wouldn't need to communicate between each other.
Well, I don't know that though. That's what I'm saying. The way that this works, we don't see.
Well, see, here's the issue: is that if you're cheating in Overwatch and I'm playing on PS4 and you're on Xbox, you don't contact Microsoft, or Microsoft won't see that and then contact Overwatch, or PlayStation. They'll contact Overwatch.
I guess
because if you submit a gamer complaint on me or whatever they're called, and you get me banned, that doesn't go to Sony or Microsoft. That goes to Overwatch, because I'm not banned on PSN.
No, but I'm talking about bans on PSN and bans on Xbox Live. That's what I'm talking about. And those exist.
I was going to say, I don't think how hard it would be to get banned is ridiculous, because it'd be messages or names.
People get banned.
And in which case, that when you report them, despite what system you're on, your report goes immediately to the other person. It doesn't go up to Microsoft, and Microsoft sends it. It would go directly to them. How in a perfect world that should work?
I don't. Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Yeah,
and that's see. I think that communication. Oddly enough, we're talking about that. Communication needs to be what tells us what's going on right now. If Sony doesn't want to do it because of these reasons, they need to clearly come out and say, we are open to doing it if these things can be completely addressed before we go into it. And then if Microsoft can come back and say, hey, this is why we know we can do this. This is what we've done with Nintendo. I feel like those conversations are probably happening behind doors, but it just leaves everybody up in the air as to what's going on. And then every time someone asks, and Minecraft team is like, well, we're still talking to Sony about cross-platform.
Right.
Well, what are you saying to Sony?
And
what is Sony saying to you?
And even Jim Ryan's protect the children.
Well, yeah.
That was bullshit.
Like I say, there's a kernel of something true in there, but that's obviously not the only
kernel.
Reason.
There's like an atom in there that's true.
Regardless,
people on PS4 aren't going to hurt the children on the Switch who are 26-year-old men like me playing.
Well, no, he's actually talking about children on PlayStation. And he was talking about not being able to control the Microsoft people or the Nintendo people that come in because they're not part of their service. They can't see that.
If you think that children on the Nintendo Switch are going to hurt your children on the PS4, this man needs to leave Sony. I do not like this man. The whole backwards compatibility thing.
You go so wild into these things that you get an image of what you think somebody's saying and you just fucking run with it, man.
That's what he said. But then that's the issue.
But you're taking it such a weird way.
No, it's not.
I get what he's saying, and don't get me wrong, I agree that the majority of what he's saying is just corporate BS because that's what he is. He's corporate.
Right.
But to say that you're acting like he's talking about Switch kids. No, he's not. He's talking about adults on other platforms or kids who could bully kids on other platforms. Doesn't matter what platform they're on.
It's a ridiculous claim because there are adults in every game, even in Roblox,
well, he's talking
Minecraft,
but he's
Pokemon.
Talking about, that's exactly what he's talking about. All these things where adults and even kids doing stuff to other people, be it adults or kids on the other side, doesn't matter what age group the people on the other side is. He's using the kids as a specific example of kids are a little more susceptible to what's going on with online interactions.
But that could still happen on PS4 just because Xbox and Switch doesn't open up a gateway
but they
to
can
devils.
see what's going on in PS4 and they can do what they need to do on PS4. That's what I'm saying.
But see, I don't think they watch that stuff. I think it's all left up to player reports at this point.
It is. But if they can't report the player because the player's on a PlayStation player to PlayStation, then what happens? That's my point.
So it would do the same thing of which you report that gamer tag and the report goes to Microsoft and then they do the action.
Well, how does that work if you're reporting it through Sony's system?
Because that may be what the whole authentication system is for.
Well, again, is it? Communication is all I need.
Exactly. And
if you tell me that that's why we have to do this and there's a big reason and we understand every bit of what's going on, that's fine. But there's been no communication from Sony or even Microsoft. All Microsoft's doing is trying to take Sony's name and slide it through the mud and not saying why.
Which is appropriate at this point.
Yes and no, because they're both businesses. They both do slimy crap.
And I'm talking as a consumer because I understand 100% from a business standpoint what Sony's doing.
They both do slimy crap.
Yeah,
but
they're basically...
as a consumer, I want both companies to be open about the conversations going on. I want to know what Microsoft is offering to them and why Sony is saying that they're not doing it.
Yeah, and it's all in the works until people forget about it. This whole Fortnite thing, though, just opened up a whole different world.
Exactly. And it gets into a weird situation of what ends up happening when... this happens probably again. You know what I mean? That's the thing.
So in conclusion, we can tell everybody that we are both pro crossplay, but we both have our qualms about the things that would come with it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that if they do crossplay, it's done right.
Right, yeah.
And it doesn't hinder any game. It should not. When crossplay happens and that flip the switch happens, everything should be completely understood at the moment they do that. Of course, they could just go ahead and flip the switch and let it play right now, but if there's no systems in play to let these things go down how they normally would go down on their individual services, then we now have a problem.
Right, because you would need a flawless reporting system for that.
And that goes into some of the stuff that, like what Turnip Lord's talking about, where the community's toxic. Well, if someone toxic comes in and he can't do anything about that, then that probably turns him off from even wanting to play the game.
Yeah,
but if crossplay becomes inescapable, that's an issue. What if I want to just be on PlayStation? I need to be able to turn crossplay on and off if I want, but then that creates more and more lobbies.
Yeah, I guess.
Consumer choice,
right?
So
they should be able to appease everybody.
Yeah, it's weird.
See, because I don't think I'd never have an issue with playing with more people. Like, I don't care what they're from. I
don't care either.
Because the amount of times I'm in a party with you or Joe or somebody and we're playing, it's like I could be playing Destiny against Microsoft people and not even know or care.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just more people to play with.
You're exactly right. There's no way I'd tell that this person on Destiny who's right beside me while we were in a party chat and the fire team
it was the same way
anything to do.
It was the same way with Final Fantasy 14. I did not know
that they were coming on the PC. You didn't even know it was crossplay, did you?
No. Yeah. So when people were saying like it binds to this key on the keyboard, I said I don't have a keyboard, and then they said, "Oh, you're on PS4." And I was like, what do you mean? I'm playing it on a PS4.
Yeah, it's just weird that crossplays existed since like early 2000s whenever...
it was on PS3 and PC with SOCOM too, wasn't it?
It was on...
Not SOCOM. No. What is I'm thinking of? Oh, Final Fantasy 11.
Well, 11 wasn't PS3. That was PS2.
I said PS2.
You said PS3, but it's okay.
I thought I said PS2.
But yeah, PS2, it existed back when Final Fantasy 11 launched on PS2. It was cross-platform between, ironically enough, between Xbox 360
and Windows.
And Windows, but 360 specifically, even though the 360 version of that game did not last because nobody played it.
Yeah.
Very
I didn't
weird.
know that game was on 360 until you just said it. So.
Very, very weird. So I don't know. Crossplay is... It's obviously a heated topic between everybody gets into it because everybody has something that they're like, I understand where the problems could come from.
There's so many technicalities in there that could rise.
Yeah. And then it comes down to Nintendo coming into it and how their infrastructure is going to work with everybody else's. And Nintendo's always been behind the thing, but we see it working with Xbox. So I guess that hurdle's already been at least crossed. So I don't know. Till next time, though, Saul, I think that we are ready to wrap up. And like we said, we are all for crossplay if done correct. That's basically the long, too long didn't read of it.
Right, correct. I'm ready to go get a Parmesan chicken burger.
Me too. All right, guys. Well, until next week, this has been episode 26 of Triangle Squared. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.